Attention passionate Montreal, Canadiens fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the Atlantic Division and it could shake up the entire conference. We're talking about a direct impact on Montreal Canadiens' path to another Stanley Cup run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Montreal Canadiens fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Montreal Canadiens fans. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, if you've been following the Canadiens, you know that this team is always in a state of flux, always looking for that edge to push them closer to the Stanley Cup. And right now, there's a lot of buzz around what's happening after the 2025 NHL entry draft, which, for Montreal, was quite an eventful weekend. The Canadiens made some strategic moves, but let's start with the big splash, because honestly, it's the kind of move that could define their season and maybe even the next few years. They acquired Noah Dobson, one of the most promising young defensemen in the league, in a trade that sent 2 first-round picks and Emil Heineman to the New York Islanders. That's a bold move, but it signals the Canadiens' clear intent to bolster their blue line, especially on the right side, which has been a bit of a concern for them in recent seasons. Now, getting Dobson isn't just about filling a roster spot, it's about setting a foundation for a more competitive, more resilient team. Dobson is a player with high-end offensive instincts, a solid two-way game, and a real knack for contributing on the power play. This upgrade at defense is something the Canadiens desperately needed, especially considering their young core of defenders like Lane Hutson, Kaiden Guhle, and David Rienbacher. These guys are promising, but having a veteran like Dobson adds that extra layer of experience and leadership. Montreal's management, under GM Kent Hughes, clearly recognizes that to contend in this league, you need to have a strong, mobile blue line with offensive punch, and Dobson fits that mold perfectly. But as we all know, one move opens the door for many others. The Canadiens still have some gaps to fill, particularly at the center position. They are in a tricky spot because, while they have a lot of promising young forwards, they lack that established, top-tier center who can consistently produce and anchor the power play. Hughes has options. He could look to free agency, or he could dive into the trade market. The free agent pool, as it stands, isn't exactly loaded with the kind of elite talent the Canadiens would need to make a serious push. You've got names like Mikkel Granlund, Jack Ryslovic, and Lars Eller, solid players, but not necessarily game changers. And signing someone like Granlund might be more about filling a role than solving the bigger need for a true top-six center. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's talk that Evgeny Kuznetsov, the Russian star who recently played for SKA St. Petersburg in the KHL, might be open to returning to the NHL on a short-term, team-friendly deal. Kuznetsov's history is a bit checkered, but his talent remains undeniable. He's a dynamic playmaker with great vision and the ability to elevate the team's offensive game. And with Ivan Demidov, a talented rookie on the Canadiens, past Russian experience and chemistry could be a factor. His agent, Shumi Babiv, mentioned that the perception of Kuznetsov in the NHL hasn't really changed. He's still considered a high-end talent. If he's willing to sign a one-year deal at a reasonable price, Montreal could be a dark horse in that race. But the reality is, signing Kuznetsov might not be enough to fill that top-six center role with the consistency they need. Beyond Kuznetsov, the Canadiens are also eyeing other options. There's interest in Jordan Kyrou from the St. Louis Blues. Now, Kyrou is a winger, but he's been a revelation for the Blues, especially in the past few seasons. Coming off a 36-goal campaign, he's the kind of player who can change a game with his speed, skill, and scoring ability. At 27, he's entering his prime, and with his contract worth over $8 million annually, Montreal would have to give up significant assets, probably a combination of prospects and picks, to pry him away from St. Louis. It's not impossible, but it's a big ask, and Hughes would need to weigh whether that kind of investment aligns with the team's current rebuild strategy. Meanwhile, on the defensive side, the Canadiens are sitting pretty with their depth. Mike Matheson, a Montreal native and a veteran on the blue line, has been a key player for them. Now Matheson is entering the final year of an 8-year deal, and he's been a steady presence. Good in penalty-killing situations, a reliable shot blocker, and someone who can move the puck effectively. But with Dobson now in the fold, and young players like Hudson, Gould, and Reinbacher pushing for bigger roles, Matheson's future in Montreal is somewhat uncertain. The team has a lot of young defensemen who are developing quickly, and Matheson might be seen as a trade chip to address other needs, especially since he's on a team-friendly contract at around $875 million per year. And that's where the trade market comes into play. Matheson, with his experience and reasonable salary, is attractive to teams looking to bolster their defense without breaking the bank. Edmonton, for example, has been linked to Matheson, with reports indicating they want to upgrade their blue line. Teams like the New York Rangers, St. Louis Blues, and even the Utah Mammoth, an expansion team in the new NCHL, could be interested. The key for Montreal is patience. They don't have to rush into a trade. Hughes can wait until free agency opens and see how the defense market evolves. If other teams get cautious or if certain players don't move, Matheson's value could increase, making him a more valuable trade asset. Now, it's worth highlighting that Montreal's depth on the left side gives Hughes a strategic advantage. They're not in a rush to trade Matheson, and they can demand a good return that fills a current need, perhaps a young forward or a promising defenseman, rather than just draft picks or future considerations. Also, with the team's focus on building a balanced roster, they might prefer to keep Matheson until they see how the offseason unfolds, especially since he's a versatile player who can slot into different roles as needed. Looking at the bigger picture, the Canadiens are in the middle of a rebuild, but it's a measured one. They have a core of exciting young players, like Hudson, Gould, and the recent Calder Trophy winner Lane Hutson, who showed last season that he can be a game-changer on the blue line. They also have promising forwards, and with the addition of Dobson, the defense is now more balanced and capable of competing at a higher level. The challenge for Hughes and the management team is to continue adding pieces that complement this core, whether through trades, free agency, or developing talent from within. The offseason will be a critical period for Montreal. They need to address their center depth, find a balance between veteran leadership and youth, and decide whether to move some assets to accelerate the rebuild or to remain patient and develop their prospects. The potential signing of Kuznetsov or a trade for Kyrou could significantly alter their trajectory, but those moves come with risks and costs. That's the beauty of the NHL offseason. It's a time of strategic chess matches, and the Canadiens are right in the middle of it. So, fans, what do you think about all these developments? Do you believe Montreal should go all in for a star center, or should they focus on developing their young talent and building for the future? Would you be okay with trading Matheson if it meant bringing in a player who could make an immediate impact, or do you think they should wait and see how the market shapes up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion matters so much to us and to the future of the Canadiens. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, rumors, and analysis to keep you in the loop. Stay tuned, stay passionate, and as always, go Canadiens!